Hello, everyone. Today we are going to talk about the results from your Parliament Assembly. So, if you remember back a few weeks when some of you were learning at home and some of you were learning in different classes in school, you had a form or a questionnaire to fill in that your star leaders and their deputies had written. They'd thought really hard about our behaviour system and what we can do to improve it. So lots of you, just under 300 of you, filled in that form. So thank you for that, because it was a little bit of a different way to do Parliament Assembly, but it was great to see that so many of you managed to fill it in. Because if you remember, all the things we talk about in Parliament Assembly, they help us change the things we do in school if they need changing. It's how we show democracy, where everybody has a say. So today I'm going to share with you some slides that the star leaders and the deputies have put together to analyse their results, or your results. And they've thought really hard about the answers that you've given. They've read all of your responses and then they've thought about the next steps. Each class of star leaders and deputy star leaders have put together a PowerPoint to share with the leaders in school to talk to us about what it is that they think we need to change. So I'm going to use some of those slides today to show you. So they've been put together by your star leaders and the deputies. And we're also going to hear from two of the deputy star leaders today because they want to share their summary with you about what was found out. So I'm going to share those slides with you. Okay, so the results were in. So let's have a look at what they say. So if you remember, you had this form to fill in, and if you're not sure what I mean by the behaviour system, then you would have seen this displayed in your classrooms, and you've seen this in an assembly before. But all the reminders about how we can stay on green and get our token, and what happens if perhaps we make a poor choice and we don't correct our behaviour, what can happen next? So these are all the things that we're talking about today. We're talking about also the certificates, the stars, the value stars, all of those things that we have in school. So first of all, we're going to start by hearing from Rose. So Rose is the deputy star leader, and she is going to give us just a quick summary of the things that her class in particular found out.
Success Parliament Assembly results! Woo! By Lucio, Lucas, Luke, Didar, Rose, and Nestor. As you know, the Parliament Assembly regarding the token reward system has had many mixed results. Many students have used this opportunity to express their own opinions, which is a very useful resource for members of the staff. In this PowerPoint, you will be able to view the results for questions 4, 6, and 11. Everything you have suggested is being taken into consideration. So when you arrive back in school, there should be some positive changes to the token system we use daily. Question 4. What can we do to improve the value system? A wide variety of students suggested that there was nothing wrong with the current value system, while still others had interesting ideas for improvements. A popular one being encouraging children to show more respect. Many also said that sometimes it was too easy to get a token, so the system did not reward the hard workers enough. However, the majority of the pupils commented that they were unsure whether the system should be altered. This reflects that although there are many improvements the system could benefit from, most people think it is very solid, with not many changes necessary. Question 6. On a scale of 1 to 10, how effective do you think the behaviour system is at encouraging pupils to follow the golden rules? This question was a little bit different. It asks you to rate the behaviour system's influence on the golden rules. There were a large number of responses to this question, 229 to be exact. The most frequent rating being 3.71. It is very interesting to view this information, as it shows that many students believe that the system is useful and works well, but could use several improvements. This links nicely to the results of question 4, which also proved that the system is good but could use some adjustments. Question 11. While at fielding, have you ever seen a member of staff misuse the behaviour system, and did it involve you directly? Once again, a large amount of pupils responded to this very crucial question. The answer no was easily the most common, with 94 students clicking that option. This is very reassuring, as if any members of staff abused their power of behaviour system, there would be a lot of improvements to make, if it could be abused. Luckily, only 39 out of 229 pupils responded yes. That means that a very few teachers defy the system, which is so reassuring. Thank you so much for listening to me read this PowerPoint. I'm sorry if you had any bloopers. I know I don't pronounce my L's that well, but I really hope you enjoyed it because this Parliament Assembly was such a useful data source for our staff. We are all so grateful for what you added. Without you, this never would have been possible. So have an amazing day. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I'll see you around school sometime.
Thank you, Rose. So, yeah, definitely some things there to think of. And I think a really important point that Rose said there is that all of the things that you said are going to help us as staff, because it means that we'll also be thinking about how we can improve things in terms of our behaviour system for you. Now, I think the key thing that Rose said there is that many of you thought that the behaviour system was okay as it is, and it just needed some minor tweaks. So you're not going to see any huge changes, but you will hopefully see some small changes that will make a difference. So one of the questions that was asked, and I thought this was a really interesting one that the STAR leaders asked you, was around whether you thought the behaviour system was unfair. And you can see that actually lots of people thought it wasn't unfair. There were some that weren't quite sure, and there's some that said it was yes. So I think it really depends on perhaps which class you're in. And that's something that us as adults need to get better at, because it should be the same no matter what class you're in. And this leads on from that question really around, have we ever seen staff misuse the behaviour system? So most people said no, they hadn't. There were a few that said they had. So 39 out of the children answered. So again, that's something that all of the adults in school can get better at to make sure we're all using it in the same way. One of the classes decided to display their results as these really useful pie graphs. So let's have a look at these. So some of them were thinking around what part of the system needs improving the most. And they thought that it actually was the way the tokens were used. So we'll come back to that. They also thought about whether everyone knew what it was, the behaviour system. And you can see on the pie chart here that the majority of children knew what the behaviour system was and how it worked. There were just a few who were unsure. And then they also were interested in thinking around, do children learn enough about how they should behave and what choices they should make? And you can see here that it was quite a split, that some children thought that we should have some more lessons or even assemblies on behaviour and values and things like that. Because remember, our values that we talk about are what guide our behaviour. So when you're thinking about the decisions you make, you should always be thinking about our core values. And that leads us into this slide where one of the classes looked at what you thought made a difference. And it's interesting to see that for you, the thing that's making a difference to behaviour and was really important is mind up. So things about learning about our brain, how it works, and the strategies that we can use to calm down, particularly thinking about brain breaks, I think. And then the next thing was actually lessons in RSHE, so health and well-being, really important to know about how we grow up and change and how we can respond to one another. And at the bottom here, which was a little bit surprising, was that our lessons on values were perhaps not seen as important. So that's definitely something that the adults need to be thinking about, that how we make those more interesting, more important, or more useful to you. And some of the things that the STAR leaders shared with me was that you've heard a lot about some values, but not much about other values. So maybe we need to be thinking about that. There's lots of other feedback here that the STAR leaders have collected together and the deputies of some of the things you said. So I'm not going to read through all of these now, but your teacher might want to pause the video so you can have a look, or maybe you can come back to them at another time. So here's a summary slide from one of the classes around some things that has already been shared with you, but some suggested solutions, resolutions, ways forward. So they think that some children probably need a few reminders, a bit of clarification. about the behaviour system. We might need to slightly increase our assemblies and lessons that we have around values and behaviour, and just so that children understand it more, and that we probably need to be looking at the way that the tokens are counted in that system. So we will have a look at that. So we're now going to hear from Haroon. He's one of the Deputy Star leaders. His class looked at some particular questions, and he wants to give you a summary of some of the suggestions that he has asked some of the leaders in school to look at, so some of the adults in school, and some of the things that we probably don't need to focus on because not many people have said them. So let's hear from Haroon.
Hello everyone, I'm Haroon, the Deputy Star Lead for Pegasus, and I'd like to thank you for completing the recent Parliament Assembly survey. 229 children completed the survey on our token and behaviour system for our outstanding school. The survey was analysed by 6 Star leaders and deputies: Haroon, Astrid, Connor, Isabella, Leva, Melissa, Ahmed, and Dylan. We have analysed your responses for question 3 and question 5 and created a presentation of our findings. On slide 3 of our presentation, we have explained and summarised our findings for question 3. Question 3 was, what one thing would you change about our token and behaviour system? 206 children completed question 3 out of 229 responses. Out of 206 children, 23 children left the answer blank. 76 answered with nothing to change or don't know or question marks. 130 children gave ideas for improvement. You can see we have created a bar chart clearly depicting the overall responses for each year in 4 main categories: blank, improvement ideas, nothing to change, and total without blanks. On slide 4, we have listed the summarised suggestions that you have stated in your responses, and we have split them into 2 sections. The first section explains the themes we suggested to Mr. Double and Miss Haynes, which we can focus on, and the second column is for the themes that unfortunately we won't be able to adapt in our system. Themes which we will focus on: no teaching and teachers monitor climbing stars or tokens, climbing stars not at end of day, red letters to be given privately, no tokens if you're on amber or red, having a second chance if on amber, bad behaviour, don't receive token, special recognition for hard work, weekly or timely info on constellations, achievement points in latest news, lose point on red, give other constellations an opportunity to win by completing extra tasks. Themes which we will not focus on: no red letters, more constellation treats, less tokens to be put in if you are on the value star, more value stars when done something outstanding, give other constellations a chance to win, more opportunities by completing extra tasks. Teacher chart showing the points of each constellation, prize for runners up, computerized tokens but stars in diary. On slide 5, we have analysed question 5. On a scale of 1 to 5, what do you think about the current behaviour and points collecting system? The average rating was 3.92 out of 5 stars. We have shown the screenshots of the responses for each total of the stars. For example, 5 stars there were 58 responses, and for 2 stars there were 9 responses. The rating indicates that the majority of children are content with the school's current behaviour and token system. On behalf of all 6 star leaders and deputies, thank you for reading and listening to our feedback and recommendations. Keep safe and always take on new challenges with a smile.
Thank you, Haroon. Some really interesting suggestions that have come through there. And I think it's interesting that Star Leaders have pointed out that all of your suggestions are fantastic, but some of them we won't be focusing on this time. We will be focusing on this list on the left here. So some of the things that the Star Leaders talked around was red letters. Now, some of you will remember that we haven't had red letters for quite a while. That was when we used to take them home. Because what happens now is that you might have to move your name to red if you have shown a red behaviour. You'll have a sanction where you'll lose some playtime, and you'll fill in a think sheet. That still goes home to your parents, even though you're not taking home a red letter, because it's now done electronically via the computer. But most of you, in fact, nearly all of you, never get your name on red because you make the right choices. Sometimes you might slip down to amber, but you make a choice and you change your behaviour, and that's what it is we want you to do. It's all about making a good choice. For some of you, you thought that getting a value star was a little bit easy. I tend to agree. Value stars are when you go above and beyond what's expected of you every day. You do something really different, really demonstrating our values. So just as you've asked us to, we're going to talk to the teachers about perhaps not giving out so many of those and really thinking about whether they are hard earned. Some of you talked around the way that stars are recorded and how account tokens are collected. So we will be having a thought around that, and I will be speaking to the star leaders around that. Thank you to each and every one of you who filled in the survey. It really makes a difference because we want to make sure that the things that we do in school really work for you. And our behaviour and reward system is there to help you make good choices. So I'm going to provide the slides that the star leaders did to your teacher. So you might want to spend some time looking back at those as well. And you might want to watch this again just to see what the key points that have come through. But the key message is you're not going to see any huge changes to the way behaviour is managed in school, but you will see some small improvements that should hopefully make a difference to you. So thanks again for adding your views. I hope you all have a fantastic week, and I will see you around school soon.